to Dr. Pleasant for inviting me to give this talk. I'll just share my screen now. Yeah. So good morning all. So the topic is cathodic protection of corroding concrete structures. This is mainly, I have covered some work done by Dr. Deepak Kamde, Naveen Krishnan, and Karthikeyan Manikyam. This work is done in IIT Madras. So today we are witnessing a significant boom in our construction industry. We are constructing a lot of structures all around the country, along the coast, new airports, seaports, highways, and associated structures. Many type of commercial and rural, residential and commercial buildings. So lots of concrete structures are coming up everywhere in the country. Now, with this, we have a huge task of keeping them safe and usable for long period, and say several decades, without much maintenance and repair. Okay, and that was about the new structures which we are building. Now we also have a lot of existing structures, or structures which are there for a couple of decades, or sometimes even within a decade. We are seeing issues like severe corrosion, etc. I've been directly involved in projects where structures are experiencing severe corrosion even before the people started living in that. So that means within 5 years. Okay. Recently also, if you see in newspaper, there was an article on one structure, a multi-story apartment complex, which is going to be demolished because of corrosion. Okay. The reason was people used chloride-rich water, or water which was not free from chlorides for the construction. Sometimes we use sea sand also for construction, which is not acceptable. And if either you use water or chloride, the structures will start corroding very, very fast. And in Kerala also, we have structures like that. So it's very important to test. I must say this, it's very important to test the chloride content of the fresh concrete if you are really thinking about durability. Chloride content of the fresh concrete, it is given in our national codes, but very few people practice this. We usually test only compressive strength of concrete. That is not the right way. When you get the fresh concrete, one must also test the chloride content. Then you can expect that structure to actually last at least a decade or more. Anyway, having said all this, the cost of corrosion is about 5% of the GDP, or sometimes even more. Why I said more is because most of the time we do not get the data. This 5% amount is coming from 3 to 4% exactly. It is coming from a study done by National Association of Corrosion Engineers, or NACE, in the USA. They did a worldwide study and found this number to be about 3 to 4%. But because we do not have many data available, about repair and rehabilitation, those kind of work, I think it is much more than 5%. Okay, especially when we talk about reinforced concrete structures. So it's a huge task to make sure that the structures we build are long lasting, and also the structures which we already built will last for longer period. So we are having a lot of structures which are corroding and which need to be made durable for longer period, or rather extend their service life. Okay. Now, before talking about extending the service life, we need to know what actually goes wrong, why corrosion happens. So corrosion cell, this is on corrosion cell in reinforced concrete. What happens is when on focusing on the picture here on the right side, the concrete, so when steel is placed inside concrete, it starts reacting with the highly alkaline concrete medium, and it forms a thin layer around the steel surface, which is what we call passive film. And that layer is very thin, dense, and highly resistant against corrosion, or rather it protects the steel underneath from further corrosion. This is very important because of the highly alkaline nature, we are able to protect the steel from corrosion. But when chlorides come into the picture, or because of carbonation, when the pH reduces, this passive film gets affected or gets broken, and then the steel starts corroding. So that's why we are always worried about chlorides and carbon dioxide when we talk about corrosion in concrete structures. You have to keep the chlorides and carbon dioxide away from the steel, or somehow protect the concrete structures from these chlorides and carbon dioxide from entering into the concrete. Now what happens in the corrosion cell is, the gray portion here is the metal or the steel rebar. This yellow is the electrolyte or the concrete pore solution. Now you have some portion of the rebar is corroding, and that region we call anode, and the remaining portion on the same steel rebar which assist in the corrosion process, we call it cathode. What should I do this? Listen. Yeah. Now, anodic and cathodic reactions. So at the anode side, we have this ion dissolution and the formation of two electrons. Okay, Fe becomes Fe2 plus and then two electrons. Now these two electrons get, the charge get transferred to the cathodic side, and it is then combining with oxygen and the moisture available. They form hydroxyl ions. And then these are the two reactions which we call as two half cell reactions. So in combining, we get corrosion reaction. Okay. So two half cells forming one corrosion cell. Now, when you talk about concrete structures, these anodes and cathodes can exist on the same rebar, especially in cases of highly resistive concretes and coated rebars, strands, etc., which are the type of materials which we use in today's construction. Now, on the picture at the bottom right, you see a concrete pier which is going into the water, or which is coming out of the water. So the location which is very close to the water surface is the region which is experiencing the wetting and drying process. And because of that, that region has sufficient moisture, sufficient oxygen, and also because of this wetting and drying, lot of chlorides also reach the rebar at an earlier time. So you have more degradation there. But if you look at the top portion of the same pier, you don't have much of moisture as compared to here, and also less chloride, so the corrosion is less. But if you go down into this pile, you will, or a pier, you will see that there below the water also the amount of corrosion is less, because you don't have enough moisture there. Sorry, you don't have enough oxygen there. So think about this yellow equation in the yellow box. You need to have both moisture and oxygen to sustain corrosion reaction. It's very important to know. Okay, now, so because of all these, we have a lot of structures which are experiencing corrosion. And what is our typical practice? We just do the patch repair. The entire presentation, I'm going to say how bad this patch repair is and how we should do a proper repair of concrete structures which are experiencing corrosion. That is the cathodic protection. That's the aim of this presentation. Now, patch repair and concrete replacement, people do it every now and then. You know it, you have seen it many places. And what we found is, we did some survey and we found that about 4 to 5 years is the frequency of the patch repair. In major structures, you'll see that you repair and you go back and do the repair on the same location after 4 to 5 years on an average, which is very, very expensive. And the point is, during this time, you know, the structure, you are allowing the structure to corrode, and it's not a good idea to do that way. So 70% of the structures were re-repaired within the 5 years after the first repair. So you don't want to do this re-repair one. Okay, and also very important to notice that the cost of corrosion is about 5% or more, 5% of GDP or more. And if we do a proper repair or a durable repair, then we can definitely reduce this cost of corrosion. Okay, at least we will repair only once a structure. We do not want to repair again and again the same structure. So we have to look at electrochemical repair strategies. Okay, it's very, very important. And one more thing to tell here is that whenever you do a repair, you ask for the service life of the repair. How long the repair is going to last. And when somebody gives you a number, 5 years, 10 years like that, you must ask what is the scientific principle behind that assumption. Okay, so people generally, I've seen many places, they give numbers just like that. So you have to really look at what is the basis for that, and is it a reliable assumption or not? Okay, or a reliable estimate or not? So now I am telling that, you know, from these 4 to 5 years, if you go for cathodic protection technology, you can have a service life of 20, 25, or even 30 years. We can design for it. That means you do a repair on a structure and then you don't do anything for another 25 years. Okay, so it is possible. People have done it. Now, why these 4 to 5 years structures encounter a second repair and every 4 to 5 years encounter repairs? Because it's something to do with the something called halo effect, or even also residual chloride effect. So the picture on the top is showing you a rebar. You can see a rebar, a girder with 2 rebars here, and this darker color region at the center is indicating, or it is the repaired concrete, which was done about 3 years, which was done about 2 to 3 years before the before taking this photograph. Now, what happened in those 2-3 years is this: because of the halo effect, or we call ring effect, this adjacent region of the repaired concrete started corroding. As you see on the schematic on the bottom right, you can see this is the rebar and the adjacent region. So this darker region is the repaired concrete, and the blue dots are the residual chlorides. Because of the, if you don't clean the rebar properly, you know, you will still have some chlorides on the rebar surface. It's very difficult to clean them completely. And then if you look in the molecular level, so because of that, and because you have the differential chemistry, or the pH is different in this concrete and this concrete. New concrete and the old concrete, the pH or the chemistry is little different, and that generates a corrosion cell at the interface between the old and new concrete, and that leads to corrosion of the concrete in the corrosion of the steel in the existing concrete. This is what we call as halo effect, very evident on this photograph here. And this is from vector corrosion. I got this photograph from David. Now, on the a little bit more detail on this same photograph. You remember, this is what we are trying to avoid by putting cathodic protection. Now you can see here, this picture, it's a new chloride-free repair concrete, the dark gray. This region is the existing concrete. Now look at this number, the electrical potential between these two locations of the same rebar is different. One is minus 350, other one is minus 200. So if this is the case, definitely the location which is at minus 350 will start corroding, or the location which is more negative will start corroding. So that's what this brown rust indicating, that the region inside the old concrete is corroding. Now what can we do to prevent it? This is where the technology of cathodic protection comes into the picture. This rectangle over here is the anode which we are talking, and this anode is electrically connected using a tie wire. It is connected to the rebar, and by doing this, you are actually making an electrical circuit between the zinc anode and the steel rebar. Now looking at the potential, the zinc has a potential of minus 1100 millivolt, which is much more negative than both 350 and minus 200. So definitely the zinc will corrode before the anodes, before the steel starts corroding. This is exactly what we are doing in the cathodic protection. We are protecting the steel rebar by making the steel rebar a cathode and making the zinc an anode. So we call it sacrificial anode or galvanic anode, which is the zinc piece here. Okay, I think it's very clear now. So the more negative material will start corroding, and we keep the zinc as that material which is having a more negative potential, it will start corroding. Now this portion here is the motor around it. So as you can see here, this is how an anode looks like. It has a zinc disc and it has a motor which is very special motor. It is not like just concrete. You cannot just use this concrete. It will not work at all. Okay, because the zinc needs a very high pH environment for that to corrode, which is more than 13.1 pH. Concrete will not give you that high pH for a long time. So you really need to have a material around the zinc plate or zinc disc, which is having very high pH and which is also porous enough for accommodating the product, zinc corrosion product. That zinc, when it corrodes, it will penetrate into this encapsulating mortar, and it will stay within. I'll show some pictures later of this encapsulating mortar, and that is how it works. And this mortar also provides the sufficient pH of 13.1 or more for 20-25 years. So that's the speciality of this mortar. It has to be supplying that 13.1 very high pH for the entire life of the anode, and it has to have enough pores to accommodate the zinc corrosion products, and it should be very low in resistivity. Then only this whole mechanism will work. And these are some of examples of how the anodes are connected to the rebar. And then you can see here, this is also connected. You can notice it. It is connected along the edge, because that is where the halo effect or the ring effect will come into the picture. So that is more important region. And the connection has to be also very nicely done. Rebar has to be clean. Electrical connection is very, very important. Otherwise, system will not work. Now let me explain what is the advantage of using these anodes in the long run as with the schematic. Focus now on the top row, which is with the red text around. Now that is the patch repair without cathodic protection or without any galvanic anodes or a sacrificial anode. So we call it cathodically protected system. Now, before the first repair, this is how the system looks like. You have a small region where the rebar have started corroding, and you have some region which is spalled. Now we try to repair this region. Usually what we will do is we will put some more mortar, cover it with some repair mortar, micro concrete or something. We will patch repair, we will do. And then what you will see is that is not going to stop the corrosion from continuing to happen. So you see an enlarged region in the second, which is in between, like after the first repair, After a few more, let's say 5 to 6 years, you will see something like this. Then you will actually go back and repair it. But important thing to notice here is that the rebars here have reduced cross section than what was here. Now, when you have such reduction in cross section, that means you're not stopping the corrosion, you're allowing the corrosion to continue to happen. After some more time, this is first repair, this is second repair, let's say after another some two, about a decade or so, you will find that the rebar has completely or much more corrosion has happened, not even a decade before that. So you see a significant corrosion, even replaced, the additional rebars have been placed to take care of the structural loads. And now here you can see this region of spalled region has significantly increased as compared to one over here. So by just doing the patch repair, you are allowing the corrosion due to both halo and residual chloride effects, which is not what we want to do. We want to stop the corrosion at the time of first repair. So now look at the bottom row, which is the cathodic protection or along with the, so patch repair along with the cathodic protection. So similar picture like this at the bottom here, but we have a galvanic anode. So you have a small region which is spalled, you have a rebar and which is somewhat corroded, and a small region which is spalled. Now you are attaching a galvanic anode, the circular black circle is the galvanic anode, connecting that to the rebar. Then what you do, if you wait for some time, you will notice that the zinc, this is the zinc galvanic anode, which is getting consumed, but the spalling is not increasing, or that region doesn't corrode further. And the rebar dimensions, cross section, it's all same, remains same. There is nothing more damage. The rebar and it's not experiencing any further corrosion. After even maybe multiple repairs, still you will see that maybe the anodes gets completely consumed. At that time, what you can do is you can take the anode, replace that with another anode, which is after 20, 25 years or even 30 years, depending on the design which you do. But the point to note is that the spalled region, which was at the first time of repair like this, remains same. So you are not allowing the steel to corrode further. So there is no harm for the structural capacity, or it's not getting deteriorated. So corrosion due to both halo effect and residual chloride effects are arrested with the use of galvanic anodes. This is what is most important word, this arresting corrosion at the first time when we notice it, that is at this point. Okay, so the areas of steel corrosion remain same, area of patch repair remains same, everything. All what you are doing is you are allowing or sacrificing the zinc anode to corrode and not allowing the steel to corrode. Now let's see where this industry in India is standing. In the worldwide, North America and rest of the world, Europe, etc., they use these anodes very heavily. But India, we have a lot more, room to improve. We have to really start propagating this technology so that we can save many of our corroding structures. As you see in this graph here, we collected this data from Vector Corrosion Technologies. They are pioneers in this anodes, for reinforced concrete systems. So we collected data, and then you can see that until about 2015 or 2016 there is no rise, but after that we are seeing significant increase in the sale of sale of anode. That indicates that more and more projects are now adopting the use of anodes. So industry is realizing the potential of these anodes in preventing corrosion and enhancing or extending the service life of our structures. It is good, but we need to promote it much more so that we can save a lot of money in repair. We can increase the frequency of repair. We can increase the frequency. That means very little repair works. Once you do the repair, you forget it for a long time. That should be the strategy. And every contract document, we should ask for what is the service life of repair. Do not adopt any repair technology without asking the service life and do a comparison of service life. Then you will realize how advantageous these cathodic protection systems are. Now, what are the problems? We have not enough people who know about this technology. People also think that cost is very high, which is not really the truth. I'll show you some case studies later today. And then CP experts are not locally or widely available. Complexity in repair is again a myth. People think it's very difficult to do the repair work, but if I really think about it, I find that there are, if you, it's relatively simple compared to the other repair strategies to make them really be effective. Okay, it's also about workmanship. And then burden of maintenance, then engineering problems are there are people who do this design without really thinking about long-term performance. And also there are anodes in the market which are not performing well, because I've seen many places where anodes are being sold just by putting zinc within a standard concrete mortar, which is completely wrong. It is not. It is a criminal to sell such anodes. Anodes have to be encapsulated in a mortar which has high pH, sufficient pores. So various things. It's not just putting zinc in concrete. That's not the way. It will not work. It might work for initial few months and then it will stop functioning. We have data on that. So lack of field experience, high resistivity of the repair materials, like the repair concrete which you use, if it is more. So the performance of the anode is also a function of what is the resistivity of the concrete around. And so we need to develop some rational design procedures, and we are working on that now in our group. Now, let me now bring some light on the history of these anodes. So this is a system which is probably the first generation galvanic anode systems for concrete structures, and it comes from the idea that from the other industries like in the offshore pipeline, etc. Those industries have adopted this technology way back. But in all those cases, like for example, if you're talking about a ship or a pipeline, you have liquid medium around, which is actually having a very low resistivity. But the moment you talk about concrete, your resistivity is very, very high. Okay, so there are limitations associated with that. But we have now technology which will work even in such scenarios. So we have to just design for it. That's the point. Now, here this is a rebar which is embedded, let's say, in concrete, and you have a anode coating around the or on the surface of the concrete or surface of the medium. So the brown region here is the coating, and this gray, light gray is the anode or the zinc coating. Sorry, the brown region is the concrete, steel rebar, and then you have this zinc coating as the gray region. And then this zinc is connected electrically to the rebar inside. So both the metals are connected. That is how the circuit is completed. Now, when you do this, what happens if there is any probability of corrosion? The corrosion will happen on anode. This portion will corrode, the anode or the zinc will corrode and protecting. So this rust will not happen. That's the whole idea. This will not happen. Okay. If you don't have this anode connected, then this portion of the rebar will start corroding, and we are trying to avoid that from. This is an example. You can see zinc coating on a concrete column, reinforced concrete column, and you can see this is how it is applied. The thickness is about 400 microns or half a millimeter thick. So you can see inside the concrete, and here it is the zinc reinforced polymer. So you have this thick coating available, and that is supposed to sacrifice itself when there is any possibility of corrosion to happen. And this is other examples on a bridge girders where they are applying. You can see the rebar corroded and then it led to cracking of this girder here. You can see all along the rebar lines, girder is cracking. So they're applying the zinc coating, which is expected to stop that corrosion or stop that steel inside from further corrosion. Or in other words, you are arresting the corrosion as soon as this zinc coating is applied. Now, this is very good technology because it doesn't create much of disturbance to the traffic, and it gives prolonged time protection. However, when you have reinforced concrete structures with large cover depth and highly resistive concretes like today's concrete with fly ash, etc., this technology may not work. And that is where the industry started coming up with this something called discrete anodes. Okay, where you have this or point anode, different names are there. So these are essentially a small pieces of zinc with anodes inside. You can, sorry, small pieces of zinc inside the encapsulating mortar. You can see here. So here you can see multiple discs. That is mainly to, for providing for the cases where you have high corrosion rate of steel or chloride rich environment where you want more surface area for the zinc. So it's a surface area of the zinc is very, very important because that is what corrodes. And you allow that more surface area to corrode so that the steel is protected. So the resistivity of the concrete is important. Steel density or the surface density, surface area of the steel with respect to the surface area of the concrete, that is what is important. Another important parameter to calculate how many anodes need to be placed, what is the spacing of the anodes, etc. And also the exposure condition that will help us determining what is the corrosion rate which we have to control. Now, a couple of we also did some laboratory studies on the long-term performance of these anodes. One is in one study, long-term study. You can see on the picture on the left, we have 4 slabs which were made in 2008, and we are still observing these slabs. Some 3 of these slabs have anodes and 1 slab does not, and that is looked at, to look at how the performance of these anodes are in the long term. Because whenever we apply, we talk to engineers to adopt this, they ask for pilot data or pilot study. Where is the pilot study? So my question to them is, you have to first allow us to use so that we will get data to show. We should not refrain from experimenting, so that we get pilot study. But today we have the data. This is second study, which is in the Chennai port. I'll talk more detail about this later. Chennai port, where the anodes were kept, and then we have now, I think, a data after 12 years. They are still functioning very well. So we have now enough data to show that these anodes are performing in the long run, and it is a very good, feasible, viable technology for extending the service life of corroding structures. So this is about this lab study. This is how the slabs look like. You have so many rebars running in both directions. The slab size is about 1 meter by 1 meter with about 250 mm thick. You can see the photograph here to get a some realistic idea about the size of the slab. And then we have anodes kept inside this blue, green, and brown things. They are all different type of anodes with different areas. So just to do study. And then we take measurements every now and then using corrosion rate measurement equipment. You can see this is being measured. What is the rate of corrosion? And you can see these wires going on the top, which is basically the wires which are connected to the anodes. Now, when we measured the potential of the rebars, which is a very good indicator of the corrosion activity, what we found is the slabs without the anodes were giving very negative potential, indicating a lot of corrosion ongoing and with wide cracks and spalling. And this top 3 graphs indicating very positive potential, more positive potential, -100, -200, whereas in this case it is -500. So this also indicates significant protection, and that also was visually observed by showing that there was no corrosion on these slabs. Sorry, no cracking on these slabs, whereas the slab without the anodes were cracking. Now also the corrosion rates were measured. That also indicated the slab 1, 2, and 3 with the different anodes were showing almost 0 corrosion rate. Very good protection for over 12 years right now. And slab 4 without the anodes were showing high corrosion rate. So that's again indicators showing that there is corrosion. Now, one may or may not believe on this measured numbers, etc. So you have visual evidence that in the case of slabs with anodes, there is no corrosion, no cracking. You can see on the picture on the left with green one on the right side, the red lines indicate severe cracking and very severe cracking. Over here also you can see very severe cracking. You can see here. So very clear evidence that anodes are functioning very well for more than, these pictures were taken 2-3 years ago. And even today we can say that they are performing very, very well. Now, output current from each anode were also measured, and we are still seeing that they are able to supply the current for even 12 years. The anodes are performing. So we are waiting for more. So in between, we also extracted one of the anodes, and just to see how the anodes are actually after 12 years, how do they look inside. So we extracted a core, and then this circle which you see is the anode, and this is the zinc inside. And this is the zinc corrosion product. These white spots which you see are all the zinc corrosion products. So you, like I said, you need this pore structure, porous mortar around to accommodate the zinc corrosion products. Okay, which is very, very important. It is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. It's a proof that zinc is actually corroding and protecting the steel. Now, one more thing to look at is that the connectivity between the tie wires and this is a cross section. We cut one of the anode, the extracted anode, we cut it and looked at it, how it is actually looking inside. What we found is the connection between the tie wire and the zinc can get lost if you have inappropriate connection of the zinc wire or the casting of the zinc into the of the tie wire into the molten zinc. So it has to be done by die casting. Okay. So today we have good anodes available which are die cast, and this kind of problem do not occur. Okay, but one has to check whether this will happen or not. So it's very, very important to check that. I'll show you a test method later on how to check it. So this is the zinc. This is the encapsulating mortar, which is filled with zinc corrosion product because of that whitish color you can see. And this piece, so this is the tie wire which is going through the center, and then this white here is actually disconnecting the tie wire with the zinc inside. So this is something very important to avoid. So one has to really test the long-term performance of the anode by some short-term study. So before I go into that test method, I'll show one more case study, two more case studies where we have data from. This is the finger jetty in Chennai port where these anodes are installed, and after 8 years of construction of this jetty, this was the condition of the pillars. You can see severe corrosion. I'm looking at the left image. Severe corrosion just after 8 years and very high chloride condition, etc. So they installed some anodes and covered with more concrete, like concrete jacketing. Anodes were installed as a pilot study. This is, I'm talking 12 years ago. Okay, so they did that pilot study, fantastic work, and they installed the anodes, and even today there is no corrosion or no cracking on this finger jetty structure. So the anodes is working very well in protecting the steel inside. So they are sacrificing themselves to corrode and protecting the steel from corroding. So this proof is there. So after 12 years of repair, no cracking. It's very, very clear. So in the same environment, same coastal or marine environment, after 8 years of construction, this was the scenario. Now, after this happened, they jacketed it, put some anodes inside, and then after that, even after 12 years after the installation of the anode, there is no corrosion on this jacketed structure. So one can very clearly see the advantage of cathodic protection. Now we have field data to show. Now people think about the cost. It's this additional work of installing anodes cost only about 2.3% in excess, only 2.3% of the repair cost. So you can see very, very low cost. It's not at all very large. as compared to various other cost factors, especially the micro concrete was the one which was costing too much on this repair work. And that's another thing we should think. We should not just put micro concrete in every repair work. That is not required. You have to think about it. Don't put micro concrete if your problem is, you have to really think, why are you putting micro concrete? Is the compressive strength of the concrete is the important, or other parameters are more important? So think about that. A field study, another one is on salt processing unit in, this is like a salt processing unit in Thoothukudi, where the structure was heavily corroded because of the severe chloride exposure. They did the repair and with cathodic protection. And so you can see this is the condition of the corroded columns, and they all were repaired very nicely, and structure is was able to resist further corrosion. It was or able to arrest further corrosion from happening. Now, again, in this, the cost was only about 4% of the total repair cost. So definitely CP or cathodic protection is the way to go for especially chloride-induced corrosion scenario. Now, we have too many anodes now in the market. People are just making anodes, the different types of anode, different shapes, everything is available. So one has to really look at how to judge these anodes quality. So we have developed some technology in our lab, test method in our lab to test this. Like I mentioned earlier, the factors which affect the long-term performance of the anodes are anode material itself is an important thing. The chemistry of that, it has to be rich in zinc, and then encapsulating mortar has to be having a pH of 13.1. This is the mortar I'm talking about, a pH of 13.1 or more, and that pH has to be like that for the entire life of the anode. If you're designing for 25 years or 30 years, this mortar has to supply that much pH, has to sustain that pH level for that period of time. Then only the zinc will continue to corrode. Like I said, zinc need that high pH to corrode. Okay. And one more thing is that zinc, let's say the surface of the zinc is corroding, and then this circle of this gray region keep on reducing, the diameter keep on reducing. So let's say this much zinc is corroded. Now, the uncorroded zinc should have an exposure to the high pH environment. Okay, so the rust, so the zinc corrosion products will ooze out a little bit into the mortar, and then the high pH or the ions from the mortar has to move towards the surface of the zinc so that the zinc will continue to corrode. So these are all very crucial to ensure the long-term performance of the anode, not just first 2 years. Okay. Now, connection between the tie wire and the zinc, the die casting is also very, very important. How to ensure that tie wire will not corrode. So you have to use good quality tie wire, mainly for the purpose of preventing the corrosion of the tie wire during the shipping process itself. Because sometimes it takes 2-3 months from the time you purchase the anode or you manufacture the anode and until the anode goes into the concrete structure. So that time it should not corrode. The tie wires are very thin and you want to protect the tie wires from corroding. So usually we use a corrosion resistant tie wire for that purpose, mainly to prevent corrosion during the transport process or shipping. So there is a need for a practical and short-term test method to shortlist or select the anodes. Which anode is that I should use? So these kind of problems should not happen. So we have to test them. How do we test? Is we have a test method developed now in our lab, galvanic anode performance test, GAP test. So this is essentially you have an anode embedded inside a concrete cube, as you see on the photograph. Then this is connected to a power source, and then we apply a voltage of 1 volt, and then you look at how the drawing power or throwing power of the anode is, how much current we are able to draw from the anode. That's what we essentially check. So here at the bottom of this cube, you have a nichrome mesh, which is representing the steel rebar, and this is a high pH environment solution, high pH solution. Now this is a schematic of the same thing. You have a concrete cube, you have an anode inside, you have a mesh here, which is representing the rebar. And then you are applying the current or drawing current from the anode. And we see how long this current can be drawn and what is the magnitude of the current which is able to draw when you apply a particular voltage. So a particular voltage is the graph when we did with this 1 volt. And what we found is one of the anode was able to give a very high, this is logarithmic scale, okay? So its magnitude is very, you can notice that. So a very high current was able to obtain from the, or we were able to draw very high current from the anode for long period, almost about a year, okay? I mean, this is an old graph, so we still have data on this. Much longer it was able to give current. But another anode, which was not having a good motor or a good encapsulating motor, that failed in just about 3 months. You can see this. In about 3 months, two anode, they just dropped the current. They could not supply any more current. So it's very clear indication. And then with the Faraday's law, we are able to predict what is the service life of anodes. So with this gap test, we can predict the service life of anodes. That's the key thing. I'm not talking about service life of the structure. I'm talking about service life of the anodes. Now you have to look at this, and the one which will give you more service life or the one anode which with more service life has to be selected for the implementation. Otherwise, you might see that, 3 months in this test might be just about 4 or 5 years in real life. Okay. So that calculation also we can do by assuming how many time of that year the structure is exposed to wet condition and how many days it is exposed to dry condition, things like that. If we can make assumptions, we can estimate the real service life of the anode. So we must design for at least 20-25 years. Repair we should not keep on doing. We should repair it once, and for at least 2 decades we should not go back and repair again. So that's the point here, target service life of anodes. Now, while installing the anode, one has to be very careful in making sure that the anodes are actually, the tie wires are very tightly connected to the rebars, and rebars must be cleaned. Otherwise, you will not get the electrical connection. We should avoid something like this. This is from one of the building where you can see this anode is just hanging. It is not going to function at all. People are wasting money by doing this poor workmanship. Now, this is another poor example. You can see this. This is just kept like that. It is not going to do any job because the rebar here is not cleaned. It has to be cleaned, and make sure that the rebar, the bare steel on the rebar is connected to the tie wire so that electrical connection is maintained. Okay, otherwise what will also happen is concrete will go in between the tie wire and the rebar, and then you will lose all the connection. So these fine details are important. So engineers must be ensuring that this is all done properly. And we cannot put anode just like connecting to the structure. You need to have a medium. You have to embed the anode. For ships and all that, people do this because you have sea water around it. Okay, or pipeline, you have the liquid inside the pipeline. So they will work, or the soil around the pipeline. So they will work. But for concrete structures, you have to embed them into the concrete. That's very, very important. And that's what makes it more difficult also. So electrical connectivity has to be checked. Now let's look at the life cycle cost. Life cycle cost, if this graph I'm going to explain, this is a case without any anodes. That is the patch repair case, where you can see in 5 years you have increase, in 15 years, the first repair happens without any anode, cost increases, and another 5 years, again you go for another repair, another 5 years, again another repair, another 5 years, again another repair, like that it keeps going. And during all this time, the steel is also corroding more and more. So you are actually losing the structural capacity, or performance will be bad. Then eventually you will reach, the structure will reach its end of life very soon. But if you go with cathodic protection option, which is this case here, or the second curve, this again, at the time of first repair, you install an anode and then you get another 15 years. Okay. Then you may want to replace the anode and then get another 15 years. The replacement cost is not very high. I showed you in that picture 2 to 4% of the total repair cost. It's not significantly high. It's very low. So like that, you can extend the life by every 15 years or 20 years, you can extend. And then you can have, no end of life. You can keep on adding or replacing the anode and you can keep going for, theoretically forever, unless you decide to demolish the structure for some other reasons. Okay, but the structure, the corrosion of the structure can be arrested. And another more beautiful technology is cathodic prevention, which is you install this anode even before the corrosion starts. So that is the case A here, cathodic prevention, where we are talking like, this goes, you install the anode at the very beginning, the triangular markers, and during the construction itself, you install the anode and you get about 30 life, so many years, up 30 years of life, and then because that also increases the chloride threshold and it doesn't allow the steel to corrode, etc. So rate is maintained, minimal corrosion rate. And then again, you replace the anode at about 30 years, you get another 30 years, that is 60 years. And then at that time, you replace the anode a little bit. Again, you get more and more life like that. So this is like, future value assessment. So definitely cathodic prevention is less expensive than cathodic protection, which is also less expensive than the patch repair when you look at the life cycle cost. The height of the graph is indicating the cost or the life cycle cost. So definitely you can see that patch repair is really going to cost you more and your structure is going to corrode faster and you will end up in demolishing the structure or not use. So whereas cathodic protection and cathodic prevention can give you much longer life for the structures. Now about the cost, this is some data collected from 4 or 5 projects, which very clearly indicate that you have about 40%, 70% savings in the cost, which is very, very good for most engineers to consider who are involved in the repair work. And for those engineers who are talking about new construction, consider this so that you can have cathodic prevention and you can have much longer life for the structures you build and be proud of it. Okay, now this is the last slide where I want to show something about the, about why we should do it in a technical sense also. Because see, picture here on the bottom left, it is a cooling tower in a power plant. And at the top of this cooling tower, you have this big funnel like structure. This is like, at least 4 or 5 meters tall. And you have very thin elements. Sometimes it's like 8 centimeters thick. They're very thin elements, reinforced concrete. And then this is an example where one of the structural consultant has suggested to put this belt of FRP, fiber reinforced polymer wraps around it like a belt to prevent that cracking from happening. But we should remember that steel, when it corrodes, it expands by about 6 times. The volumetric expansion is too high and it exerts significant tensile stresses onto the concrete. And when that happens, that pressure is too much and these FRP laminates cannot sustain that load. They will crack, as you see on this picture, and this happened in just 3 years, just 3 years after wrapping this with the laminates. So you imagine this project, this particular project, it was about 2 crores, I think, if I'm correct. And in doing this FRP lamination, that they spent so much of money in doing that. And in 3 years, they found that they again started cracking. Why? Because the FRP lamination did not take care of the root cause of the problem, which is the root cause of the cracking, which is the corrosion of steel. So one has to stop the corrosion of steel, then only think about structural strengthening. Without corrosion or arresting corrosion, structural strengthening is not going to help. So you can see very clearly the FRP laminates, they were wrapped, but they started cracking in 2 to 3 years and the rust was oozing out. And I also noticed that, these laminates started degrading under the UV exposure. So when you talk about these laminates, you must ask these consultants, what is the life guarantee which you are providing and on what basis you are providing that target service life for the repair. Otherwise, I would very openly say that it is a criminal thing that, you cannot expect to spend 2 crores and then have the, re-repairing the structure in just 3 years. So it's not right thing to do. So one must, all consultants must look for the root cause, and it may not be a mechanical, or it may not be a structural issue, but if it is an electrochemical, which is corrosion issue, one has to arrest the corrosion before doing structural strengthening. Otherwise, it's better to demolish the structure. So look at cathodic protection as a system which helps the structural strengthening systems to perform well, and not as a competitor or something like that, because this is what the concern of the industry is. Like, if this comes, then other technology, other products will not work and all that. So sales, marketing issues. So one has to be, of course, when we talk about technical things, we have to also consider the marketing issues which we face. And then I feel we should look at cathodic protection as a system which helps the other construction materials and strengthening systems to perform better. So with that, I will summarize. I talked about the state of the repair industry, concrete repair industry, and the history of development of different anodes, and then laboratory and field studies. We talked about various slabs which is about a decade old now, and field studies also. Now we have we have data to show that these anodes work for a long time, and we need quality testing of anodes, because there are a lot of poor quality anodes in the market. So one has to test the performance, test the long-term performance, and we have a short-term test available to do that, which is gap test. And then cathodic protection should be considered as a system that helps the other repair systems or strengthening systems to work effectively, and don't look at the cathodic protection as, or galvanic anodes as, a competitor. And definitely we have clear evidence that the cost of anodes or the cathodic protection is not very high. It's just 2 to 4% of the repair cost based on the case studies. And we found that it leads to a 70% cost savings. And definitely the life cycle cost can be significantly lower in case of repair with cathodic protection, whereas the service life can be extended significantly more with the use of galvanic anodes or galvanic anode cathodic protection systems. I think with that I will stop, but one last thing, we need to first have a will to repair the structures with long service life, and we must ask all the consultants or the contractors, builders, etc., or repair contractors, etc., when any repair work is being done, we must put it in the tender document or the contract document that target service life of repair. That's one message which I would like you to take today, which is ask for the target service life of repair. And today we have technology to do repair, which which can last for 20-25 years very easily. And that will, if we have, I think we will find a way to implement this cathodic protection or other electrochemical techniques and enhance the service life of our concrete structures significantly. The key word is we can enhance by a quarter century. So 25 years, quarter century, it is possible. So we can reduce the amount of repair work and reduce its impact on our economy, or reduce the financial burden significantly. Any questions, you can feel free to email me at pillai@iitm.ac.in. Thank you very much.